Okay, so today we're looking at hyperbolas. Last session we looked at parabolas. So this is just a different style of graph, and whatever we learned so far in parabola, we use the similar skills. Okay, so let's actually write some little notes and write down the expression of a hyperbola and what that looks like. Okay, so hyperbola. So the hyperbola has an expression, an equation of y equals to k over x. Okay, that's the expression that you'll have to do in hyperbola. And I'm going to show you what that actually looks like, a rough copy, a rough drawing of that hyperbola. So let me just write down some words on, a couple of words on what the definition of the variables in the hyperbola expression that we have. Okay, so the k is a constant, so you should know that. Constant is a number. It could be any number. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. And those numbers will change the design of the graph or the look of the graph. Okay, so this graph would look like something like this as just a rough copy or rough drawing. So you'll have a graph that's in this form. Okay. The thing with this graph, the graph would never touch the y-axis or the x-axis in this form. Okay, so it doesn't touch. For instance, in this form, it doesn't touch the x-axis or y-axis unless this graph is being shifted left to right or up and down. Okay. Unless the graph is shifted across or downwards or upwards. Okay. If it's in the original form, which is this form, it doesn't touch x and y axis. It will get really close to it, but it won't touch it. Okay. Obviously, the graph can move left to right or up and down. We can't shift the graph, but that depends on the equation itself. If it's like that, then obviously it will cut the x-axis or the y-axis. And we'll talk about that a bit later on. Okay, so obviously the bigger the constant is, so if your constant is a bigger number, your graph will look different. So it will get away from the origin or it will get away from the x-axis and the y-axis as well. So what I mean by that, if I just quickly draw something really quick on the side here, okay, let's say you have a graph that's something like that. Okay, that means your constant, which is k, is getting bigger and bigger. So it's actually becoming a huge value or huge number. So as the k increases in value, your graph will actually move away from the origin of the graph. Okay. Constant. That should be constant. Actually. So constant. So the k constant means, and it could be a number. So that number could change. So we start from number 1. So k could be 1 over x. You'll get an original graph. And as you increase that number, so that k, as it increases, the way your graph will look differently. Okay, and we're going to actually test this out on Excel, and we're going to try it out on graphing this on Excel, and you're going to see how that's going to look.
You're muted.
So I'm gonna do y equals to 1 over x, and this is like pretty much the original equation that you will get, the basic one. And this is gonna be really close to the original. It will be really close to x and y axis, so it comes something like this. Okay, but it won't touch x and y axis, and obviously my drawing is not that accurate. Okay, so that's how your graph will look like. But if we, let's say, want to increase the k value, our constant, so let's say we want to go to 5 over x, just a sec, and that will be like maybe something like this. Okay, so it'll be more out. It won't be as close to the origin of the graph itself. All right. So we're going to now draw a hyperbola, and we are given an expression, an equation, y equals to 2 over x. And then we first have to put table of values in there to get our coordinates. And then after that, we need to put those coordinates on a graph and then join the dots up. Okay, so let's put a graph as well, a rough graph. So the way we do this, to find y value, we have to substitute x equals to 2 into our expression, and we get our y value. So for example, so we go sub x equals to -2 into, so that means 2 over y is equal to 2 over minus 2, and that's going to be -1. So that's -1 there. And if I go x equals to -1 into the same equation, so if I go 2 over -1, that's going to give me -2. Okay. And if I put a 0, it's 0, so that's 0. Well, it's not a 0 because you can't actually divide a fraction by 0, so that means that's not a accurate sort of. It's an unanswered. Like there's no answer for that. Okay, so there's no value for that. So you put a dash there, and then we got y is equal to 2 over 1, which is 2, and then obviously the other one's going to be 1. And if we put this into our graph, okay, let's see if that's going to work. So let's go with the positive first. So we've got x is equal to 1 and y is equal to 2. So that's 1 dot there. And then we've got x equals to 2 and y equals to 1. That's another dot there. And we got x equals to -1 and y is equal to -2. That's there. And if x equals to 2, y is equal to 1. Maybe two coordinates are not going to be enough. Let's do another coordinate. Let's add. Yeah, we're gonna have to do more coordinates because this is not going to be enough for us to draw it. So let's add x. So let's add another coordinate. X equals to 3. So that means y will be 2 over 3. So when x is 3, 2 over 3 is like less than 1, so it's going to be somewhere here. Okay. And obviously, if I go x is -3, okay, I'm going to get -2 over 3. So if I'm coming to x equals to -3, right, so I'm going to have something like that. And obviously, you know, you can sort of see what's happening with the graph. So I can actually now draw it. So obviously, it's going to come something like that. Right. And then just go really close to the x-axis there. And obviously, same thing on the other side. All right, so That's fine. The reason why when x equals to 0, we don't have an answer is because at that point, there's no intersection and there's no real answer. So that's why we can't actually have a value there. And on the graph, you can see it itself as the graph doesn't touch the, it doesn't go through the value of x equals to 0 or touch the y-intercept at that point as well. Okay.